তোমাদের জন্য রাসূলুল্লাহর জীবনে রয়েছে সর্বোত্তম আদর্শ।
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to the Voice of Oneness. We're now in our 4th season. I hope you've been watching the series year after year, and we've had some amazing reciters on. So we are going to go to our first reciter, inshallah. I believe it's Muhammad Rifat Mia. Muhammad Rifat Mia, can you hear us? Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear us? Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
MashaAllah. And am I speaking to Muhammad Rifat Mia?
Yes.
MashaAllah. Very nice to see you, and very nice for our audience at home, inshallah. I'm here with our amazing judges, as ever. Let's listen to some recitation from yourself. What surah will you be reciting for us, Rifat?
I will be reciting Surah Al-Mulk.
MashaAllah. Whenever you're ready, recite.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. تبارك الذي بيده الملك وهو على كل شيء قدير. الذي خلق الموت والحياة ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا وهو العزيز الغفور. الذي خلق 7 سماوات طباقا ما ترى في خلق الرحمن من تفاوت فارجع البصر هل ترى من فطور ثم ارجع البصر كرتين ينقلب إليك البصر خاسئا وهو حسير. ولقد زينا السماء الدنيا بمصابيح وجعلناها رجوما للشياطين وأعتدنا لهم عذاب السعير. وللذين كفروا بربهم عذاب جهنم وبئس المصير. إذا ألقوا فيها سمعوا لها شهيقا وهي تفور تكاد تميز من الغيظ كلما ألقي فيها فوج سألهم خزنتها ألم يأتكم نذير.
MashaAllah. Jazakallah khair, Rifat. Jazakallah khair. So obviously we will have to time our guests. Rifat, thank you for reciting. I'm going to ask one of our judges, Sheikh Abdul Qadir, just to give some feedback on your recitation.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sheikh, Jazakumullah khair. Muhammad Rifat Mia, mashallah, you read Surah Al-Mulk, very nice reading. What I noticed is right in the beginning you said Tabarak alladhi biyadil mulk, and it sounded slightly like you said a qalqala on the kaf, but this kaf is a small kaf and there is no qalqala on the small kaf. Qalqala is on 5 letters, qaf, twa, ba, jim, dal, on the big qaf, but this is a small kaf, so therefore there is no qalqala on this. So biyadihil mulk, and then just stop, don't reverberate or echo. And the other mistake I noticed is when you were reciting the long verses, you started to speed up, and therefore take away slightly from the ikhfas and the ghunnas. So what you want to do, rather than reading a long verse and trying to read it in one breath, maybe take a deep breath and split it into two. So take a break in the middle, then go back a word or so, and then start again, and carry on the same rhythm the whole way through. The short verses were very nice and slow, and the long verses were like really, you read them in haste, which you shouldn't do. You should try and keep the rhythm consistent. But apart from that, alhamdulillah, the reading was very good, inshallah. MashaAllah.
Jazakallah khairan.
MashaAllah. Allahumma barik. MashaAllah. Let's find out who is our next reciter, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Muhammad Musa. Muhammad Musa, are you there? Muhammad Musa from Birmingham, are you there? Can you hear us?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Young man, can you tell us which surah you'll be reciting for us?
I'm going to read Surah Qiyamah from ayah 20.
MashaAllah, fantastic. Let's
Ask
listen
him
to
the
you.
surah's name again.
Surah Qiyamah.
No, he has to say what's the surah's name, because there's a name on this, naming the surah's name correctly.
Oh,
So somebody
okay.
has to name the surahs correctly.
Muhammad Musa, can you just mention the name of the surah one more time for us, please?
Surah Qiyamah.
Jazakallah khair. Let's listen to your recitation.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم كلا بل تحبون العاجلة وتذرون الآخرة وجوه يومئذ ناظرة إلى ربها ناظرة ووجوه يومئذ باسرة تظن أن يفعل بها فاقرة كلا إذا بلغت التراقي وقيل من راق وظن أنه الفراق والتفت الساق بالساق إلى ربك يومئذ المساق فلا صدق ولا صلى ولكن كذب وتولى ثم ذهب إلى أهله يتمطى أولى لك فأولى ثم أولى لك فأولى أيحسب الإنسان أن يترك سدى ألم يك نطفة من مني يمنى ثم كان علقة فخلق فسوى فجعل منه الزوجين الذكر والأنثى أليس ذلك بقادر على أن يحيي الموتى صدق الله العظيم.
Jazakallah khair, Allahumma barik. I'm going to ask our Sheikh Maqsooda Ilahi, inshallah, to give feedback.
MashaAllah, my dear brother, amazing recitation. Just to let you know, just not only you, those who are with, because there is the point allocated for saying the surah's name correctly. So this surah is not Surah Qiyamah, it's Suratul Qiyamah, okay? Like Surah Abasa, it's not Suratul Abasa, it's Suratul Abasa, Surah Mariam. This one, Suratul Qiyamah, Suratul Qari'ah, like this, okay? My first point. Second, my brother, very confident recitation, but you need to work. You know, there is some empty mouth letters, or the light letters, what we call sometimes. Your lip shape is very important, the way you say. It's not yawma, it is yawma, yawma idin. Okay? Also, when you say kalla idha, this hamza is hamza qat'a, or this hamza is tahqiq, is very strong and sharp. Kalla idha, no idha, okay, no e sound. It's all over the Quran. This hamza is very strong and sharp. Okay? Only one place in the Quran, hamza is in a'jam. This is different. Okay, but other than this, all the hamza you need to say very sharply. Also, when you say ayyutraka, this ta has a hams. There's one particular sifat is ayyutraka. And you see, when I say ayyutra, I say taraka. So light letter, lip spread. Same is wal untha. Make sure your lips spread so that it's going to be easier to say the light letter correctly. Wal untha. Okay. Other than this, very good recitation. Jazakallah khairan.
MashaAllah, Allahumma barik. Let's go to our next reciter. I think it's Hikma, Korkor Ibrahim. Hikma, are you there?
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. We have 12-year-old Hikma who is from London. Can I ask you, Hikma, if you don't mind, could you just switch on your camera for us so we can see you in the studio?
Okay.
Okay, fantastic. Jazakallah khair. Hikma, can I ask you which surah will you be reciting from?
I'll be reciting from Surah An-Nisa, insha'Allah.
MashaAllah. Let's listen to your recitation.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم واللاتي يأتين الفاحشة من نسائكم فاستشهدوا عليهن أربعة منكم فإن شهدوا فأمسكوهن في البيوت حتى يتوفاهن الموت أو يجعل الله لهن سبيلا واللذان يأتيانها منكم فآذوهما فإن تابا وأصلحا فأعرضوا عنهما إن الله كان توابا رحيما إنما التوبة على الله للذين يعملون السوء بجهالة ثم يتوبون من قريب فأولئك يتوب الله عليهم وكان الله عليما حكيما وليست التوبة للذين يعملون السيئات حتى إذا حضر أحدهم الموت قال إني تبت الآن ولا الذين يموتون وهم كفار.
Jazakallah khair to our beautiful young sister here. We have to time it, unfortunately, otherwise we won't get time to listen to everyone. I'm going to ask our dear Sheikh Abdul Qadir to give some feedback, inshallah.
MashaAllah, Hikma. The recitation was very good. It was very good, MashaAllah. It was very nice, very clear, very loud, and very slow, which is exactly what we're after. Hikma, may I ask, if you don't mind, do you wear braces?
Yes, I do.
Yes, you do, yes. So a great many of us, I do as well. Sometimes what happens is many of the students, they have to wear braces. And when you wear braces, then that sometimes does distort the recitation. I'm wearing them now as well. And even when I recite, sometimes my thas and these letters, they don't come out clearly. So I kind of, when you were reading, I kind of figured that the sound was a bit distorted, and I thought, yes, it sounds exactly like how I read. So that's why I asked you if you have braces, because I'm wearing them now as we speak as well. So I've got the same problem. So if we weren't wearing the braces, then the recitation would have been even more, mashallah, perfect. It was perfect, but inshallah, when you take these braces off eventually, the reading will become more perfect in the future as well. So continue the way you are, mashallah, beautiful recitation, Hikma.
Jazakallah khair, Mazamir min Ali Dawood. Let's go on to our next reciter, Muhammad Ayan Tamjeed. Are you there? Ayan, can you hear us? Assalamu alaikum, Ayan. Ayan, if you are speaking, maybe you need to unmute your mic. Just check your mic is unmuted. Okay, let's move on to our next reciter, Abdur Rahman. Assalamu alaikum. Abdur Rahman, can you hear us?
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah. He is 10 years old, he's from London. Which surah will you be reciting for us?
Today I'm going to be reciting Surah Safat.
Fantastic. Let's listen to your recitation.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والصافات صفا فالزاجرات زجرا فالتاليات ذكرا إن إلهكم لواحد رب السماوات والأرض وما بينهما ورب المشارق إنا زينا السماء الدنيا بزينة الكواكب وحفظا من كل شيطان مارد لا يسمعون إلى الملأ الأعلى ويقذفون من كل جانب دحورا ولهم عذاب واصب إلا من خطف الخطفة فأتبعه شهاب ثاقب فاستفت إن أهم أشد خلقا أم من خلقنا إنا خلقناهم من طين لازب بل عجبت ويسخرون وإذا ذكروا لا يذكرون وإذا رأوا آية يستسخرون وقالوا إن هذا إلا سحر مبين.
MashaAllah, Jazakallah khair, Jazakallah khair. I'm going to ask Sheikh Maqsooda Ilahi to give us some feedback.
MashaAllah, young brother Abdur Rahman, I believe. My dear brother, when you say wassa, remember it is heavy letter. Make sure your lips is normal. It's not round shape. If it is dhamma, then otherwise it's not wassa, okay. When you say warabbul mashariq, your ra is almost all of them become heavy ra. Okay, if it is the ra kasra is very empty mouth. Ri mashariq. Okay, no mashariq. Okay, wahifdha. It's not the. You make it dha like wahifdha. Wahifdha. Hold. Allah is a sifat like it's itbaq, one of the sifat called the back of the tongue should rise up. Okay, then say wahifdha. Also, when you say min kulli shihabun thaqib, both of the time you make the gunna heavy. Gunna rule is very simple. If the following letter is light, gunna is light. Okay, following letter is heavy, gunna is heavy. So shihabun tha, not shihabun tha. Okay. Also, min ti, make sure ta is sounded like ta when with the kasra, because your ta with the kasra is sounded min tin, ti, not ti. Okay. Jazakallah khair, my brother.
Jazakallah khair. Let's go on to our next reciter. Kian, are you there? Assalamu alaikum, Kian. Okay, Kian is 11 years old. He's from London. I'm hoping he can hear us. Assalamu alaikum. Kian, just make sure you are unmuted. Let's go on to our next person. We have Dina. Assalamu alaikum, Dina. Can you hear us?
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. Dina is 11 years old and she's from London. Dina, which surah will you be reciting for us?
Surah Mulk.
MashaAllah. Can we ask you if you can just switch your camera on for us, please? Jazakallah khair. Recite when you're ready.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم تبارك الذي بيده الملك وهو على كل شيء قدير الذي خلق الموت والحياة ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا وهو العزيز الغفور الذي خلق 7 سماوات طباقا ما ترى في خلق الرحمن من تفاوت فارجع البصر هل ترى من فطور ثم ارجع البصر كرتين ينقلب إليك البصر خاسئا وهو حسير ولقد زينا السماء الدنيا بمصابيح وجعلناها رجوما للشياطين وأعتدنا لهم عذاب السعير وللذين كفروا بربهم عذاب جهنم وبئس المصير إذا ألقوا فيها سمعوا لها شهيقا وهي تفور تكاد تميز من الغيظ كلما ألقي فيها فوج سألهم خزنتها ألم يأتكم نذير قالوا بلى قد جاءنا نذير فكذبنا وقلنا ما نزل الله من شيء إن أنتم إلا في ضلال كبير وقالوا لو كنا نسمع أو نعقل ما كنا في أصحاب السعير.
Jazakallah khair, Dina. I'm going to ask Shaykh Maqsuda Ilahi to give us some feedback.
My dear sister, it's good recitation, but you know the number of places, وَلَقَدْ جَاءَ, and also the sad with the kasra. Make sure you make this qalqala, وَلَقَدْ جَاء after dal, after the qalqala, وَلَقَدْ جَاء in sus in the other riwayah would merge. But here the qalqala has to be clear. Number of places your ra was quite heavy. So make sure make this ra, if it is light, then make it light. Empty mouth. You know, in English there is no light ra existed, but in Arabic it is. Okay, so make sure do this inshallah. Other than this, you know, sometimes your light letter, heavy letter switch over each other. So we got to be careful on that inshallah. This is general feedback. Jazakallah khair.
Fantastic. We've had some beautiful reciters so far. We're going to go on a short break now, and hopefully after the break we'll have a few more reciters. So until then, please do take a break and join us after the break inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
قرآني في قلب عوني تدفعني نحو العلي قلبي دوما يغمرني من فيض ضياء آيات المولى تدفعني نحو العليا.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to the Voice of Oneness. Here with me in the studio we have our wonderful judges, Sheikh Abdul Qadir, and we have Sheikh Maqsood Ilahi. Let's go to our first reciter. We have Muhammad Ayan Tamjeed, who's 11 years old and he's from Birmingham. Ayan, can you hear us? Yep, I think we can see you. Can you hear us? Yeah? Ayan, can you hear us? Okay, let's go on to Kian Aman then whilst we wait for Ayan. Kian, can you hear us? Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Kian is 11 years old and he is from London. Kian, which surah will you be reciting for us?
Surah Ahzab.
Okay, fantastic.
Kian.
Surah Ahzab, inshallah. Recite when you're ready, inshallah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم واذكرن ما يتلى في بيوتكن من آيات الله والحكمة إن الله كان لطيفا خبيرا إن المسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات والقانتين والقانتات والصديقين والصديقات والصابرين والصابرات والخاشعين والخاشعات والمتصدقين والمتصدقات والصائمين والصائمات والحافظين فروجهم والحافظات والذاكرين الله كثيرا والذاكرات أعد الله لهم مغفرة وأجرا عظيما.
جزاك الله خير.
وما كان لمؤمن ولا مؤمنات إذا قضى الله ورسوله أمرا أن يكون لهم الخيارة من أمرهم ومن يعص الله ورسوله فقد ضل ضلالا مبينا.
Jazakallah khair. Beautiful recitation. I'm going to ask Sheikh Abdul Qadir here to give us some feedback.
Jazakallah khair, Kian. Mashallah, very good recitation. What I felt is that maybe you were a little bit nervous. We could hear the nervousness in your voice. So inshallah, what you want to do is you want to practice more and build up your confidence, inshallah, so that you don't suffer from nerves, because that can cause detriment to your recitation. I think the internet was a bit distorting as well. So some bits and pieces we couldn't hear very clearly as well. But what I would suggest is be brave, be bold, be brave, gain some confidence, keep reciting. And again, deep breaths. Sometimes you're running out of breath and then you were stopping and then just continuing from where you stopped. This is not the correct way. What you have to do is, if you have to stop emergency waqf, as it called, if you have to stop, then you have to go back a word or so and then carry on from there. So if you got long verse coming up, then obviously you know which verse is long, which verse is short when you're memorizing it. So if you've got a long verse coming up, take a deep breath and then inshallah try and be consistent. And if it's too long, then take a break in the middle, go back a word or so and then continue from there and then finish it off. That makes the melody consistent. But more important than the melody is obviously the correct tajweed. This is what we're looking at more than the melody. So make sure that your tajweed rulings are in effect, inshallah, and then that will help you, inshallah, immensely as you go forward. Good boy.
Jazakallah khair. I think our next reciter is 8-year-old Dhakir Ibrahim from London. Dhakir, can you hear us?
Yes, please. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Which surah will you be reciting for us?
Inshallah, I'll be reciting from the Surah Al-A'raf, from the 44th ayah, inshallah.
MashaAllah. Recite when you're ready.
Okay, inshallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. ونادى أصحاب الجنة أصحاب النار أن قد وجدنا ما وعدنا ربنا حقا فهل وجدتم ما وعد ربكم حقا قالوا نعم فأذن مؤذن بينهم اللعنة الله على الظالمين الذين يصدون عن سبيل الله ويبغونها عوجا وهم بالآخرة كافرون وبينهما حجاب وعلى الأعراف رجال يعرفون كلا بسيماهم ونادوا أصحاب الجنة أن سلام عليكم لم يدخلوها وهم يطمعون وإذا صرفت أبصارهم تلقاء أصحاب النار قالوا ربنا
Dhakir, we are not able to hear you. I think you're muted. Can you just quickly make sure you're unmuted?
ونادى أصحاب الأعراف رجالا يعرفونهم بسيماهم قالوا ما أغنى عنكم جمعكم وما كنتم تستكبرون.
Jazakallah khair, Dhakir. I'm going to ask Shaykh Maqsooda Ilahi to give some feedback to you.
Allahu Akbar. This is amazing, very powerful verses, mashallah. Equally, it fits with your voice and your tuning as well, mashallah. Very controlled recitation. My dear brother, when you say asha, not asha, okay, and asha, also make sure whenever two light letters come together, in the middle there is the heavy letter, what happens is try the light letters, try to make the heavy letters light as well. Okay, so this ma aghna. What's if you say aghna, like the ghain is looks like a bit lighter, but it's a heavy letter. Okay, khussa daghtin qidh. That's a very heavy. So ma aghna. Okay, but the very important, mashallah. You have the amazing voice and you're very smooth in your recitation as well. Jazakallah for beautiful recitation. Barakallah feekum.
Jazakallah Sheikh. Let's go on to Samya Ahmed. Samya, who's 11 years old and she's from Birmingham. Assalamu alaikum. Samya, can you hear us?
Wa alaikum assalam.
MashaAllah. If your camera is off, can you put your camera on for us? Fantastic, we can see you. Samya, which surah will you be reciting for us?
Surah Al-Mulk.
Okay, fantastic. Recite when you're ready, please.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم تبارك الذي بيده الملك وهو على كل شيء قدير الذي خلق الموت والحياة ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا وهو العزيز الغفور الذي خلق 7 سماوات طباقا ما ترى في خلق الرحمن من تفاوت فارجع البصر هل ترى من فطور ثم ارجع البصر كرتين ينقلب إليك البصر خاسئا وهو حسير ولقد زينا السماء الدنيا بمصابيح وجعلناها رجوما للشياطين وأعتدنا لهم عذاب السعير وللذين كفروا بربهم عذاب جهنم وبئس المصير إذا ألقوا فيها سمعوا لها شحيقا وهي تفور تكاد تميز من الغيظ كلما ألقي فيها فوج سألهم خزنتها ألم يأتكم نذير.
Jazakallah khair. Samya, Jazakallah khair. I'm going to ask Sheikh Abdul Qadir to give some feedback.
Jazakallah. Samya, mashallah, that was very, very beautiful reading. A couple of things is the ha has to be, some of the has, they have to be more denoted. So ashab, for example, the word when you said, it sounded like asha. So very, very careful between the has and the has, because if you change them around, it constitutes lahna jali, which means changing the word. So you have to be very, very careful. On a couple of occasions, you didn't do the gunnas as well. So you had thumma. Yes, so the meme, if a meme has a shadda or a noon has a shadda for that matter, you have to elongate. So it has to be like 2 seconds long, give and take. So make sure that you do the gunnas properly. Again, that's very, very important. And then I noticed a couple of times with the ra, for example, masir, the ra here has to be light. So sometimes it's called tafkhim and tarqiq, which I'm sure you've learned anyway. But sometimes the ra has to be deep when it has a dhamma, or it has a fatha, it has to be deep, or when it has a kasra, it has to be light. So here, masir, because the letter before it is a kasra letter, it has to be very, very light. So masir, not masir. Is that okay? So that's a couple of things that you have to work on. But apart from that, overall, the recitation was very good. MashaAllah, may Allah bless you.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. Our next reciter is Mariam, who's 12 years old and she's from London. Mariam, can you hear us?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Mariam, which surah will you be reciting for us?
Today I'll be reciting Surah Al-Mulk Makkiyah.
Jazakallah khair. Recite for Surah Al-Mulk.
Okay.
Jazakallah khair. Recite for us when you're ready.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم تبارك الذي بيده الملك وهو على كل شيء قدير الذي خلق الموت والحياة ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا وهو العزيز الغفور الذي خلق 7 سماوات طباقا ما ترى في خلق الرحمن من تفاوت فارجع البصر هل ترى من فطور ثم ارجع البصر كرتين ينقلب إليك البصر خاسئا وهو حسير ولقد زينا السماء الدنيا بمصابيح وجعلناها رجوما للشياطين
للشياطين وأعتدنا لهم عذاب السعير وللذين كفروا بربهم عذاب جهنم وبئس المصير إذا ألقوا فيها سمعوا لها شهيقا وهي تفور تكاد تميز من الغيظ كلما ألقي فيها فوج سألهم خزنتها ألم يأتكم نذير قالوا بلى قد جاءنا نذير فكذبنا وقلنا ما نزل الله من شيء إن أنتم إلا في ضلال كبير.
Jazakallah khair, Mariam. Jazakallah khair. I'm going to ask Sheikh Abdul Qadir to give us, Sheikh Maqsuda Ilahi to give us some feedback.
Okay, no worries. Alhamdulillah, we got one of them, inshallah. My dear sister, you know one thing, this lam, the Surah Al-Mulk, or Tabarakalladhi biyadihil mulk, this lam what we see is all over the Quran is light, okay? This lam never changes. What changes when the lam comes with the lafz al-jalala, when fatha dhamma before Allahu huwa Allah. Other than this, make sure it's not mulk, Tabarakalladhi biyadihil mulku, no, mulku. One of the easier way to say, keep the lips spread. Also, make sure you make your gunna light if the rule permits you to do it lightly. For instance, the following letter light, samawatin, no samawatinti, and add to that, you need to fix your ta, because number of places your ta when it's with the kasra, it sounded like the ta, okay? For instance, shayatini, futur, your ta sounded futur, okay? Make sure it's much heavier. Also, if you notice the Shaykh Abdul Qadir, beginning of the Shuhayb advised ra sakin letter before kasra, or any time ra comes with this ya sakin before when the ra sakin. So two ra sakin letter before ya sakin. This ra all over the Quran light. Nasir, basir, nasir, or not basir, nasir, not like this. Okay. Also, qad ja'ana nadir, no qad ja'ana nadir. If you see, you skipped the mad. Okay, so make sure you work with these few issues, inshallah, and you should be fine. Barakallahu feekum.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. We've had some fantastic reciters so far, and one thing that I've noticed, that those of our reciters who are confident in their recitation, meaning they've practiced quite a bit before they've come on to recite, we find that they're a lot more, the recitation is a lot more clearer, the tajweed is a lot more precise. I'm going to just ask Sheikh Abdul Qadir before we go on our next break, if he has any advice for those who have recited so far and those who will recite as to how they can improve their tajweed and their recitation.
Jazakumullah khair. What I would say to all of our students is you're on a live program, maybe thousands of people all around the world watching, so we can appreciate this fact that you may be feeling a bit shy or maybe feeling a bit nervous is the word, but as I said before, practice, as our host said, as our Sheikh Badrul said, that practice. As I say in English, practice makes perfect. So the more you practice, the more confident you will become. The more confident you will become, or you feel, then the more beautifully you can read. So that will straight away give you one step up. So practice a lot, inshallah. Make sure you got your memorization correct. Make sure you've got all of your tajweed rulings in place. And then deep breaths, as I always say, deep breaths, and read slowly as possible. And that will make your recitation sound that much more beautiful than it already is, inshallah. So do that, yeah, definitely.
Jazakallah khair there, Sheikh. We're going to go on to our break, and we hope to see everyone else for the final segment. So until then, Assalamu alaikum.
قرآني في قلبي دوما يغمرني من فيض ضياء آيات المولى تدفعني نحو العلي. قرآني في قلبي دوما يغمرني من فيض ضياء آيات المولى تدفعني نحو العليا.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to our dear viewers for the final segment. Now, before we begin, I just wanted to ask Shaykh Maqsuda Ilahi to give some advice, some nasiha to those who have recited thus so far and those who will be reciting. Shaykh, over to yourself.
Jazakumullah khairan. First and foremost, everyone should know that there is always room for improvement. So those who we gave feedback that you need to work with this, you should work. And as we probably didn't say much, but still there is some room for improvement, inshallah. You really sort of dig into this yourself. But before that, I would advise from my sort of personal judgment in terms of what so far I experienced today. Remember, it's a competition. So in competition, there are something you have to consider before you recite. Okay, I notice few reciters, they just open the random page of the Quran and you recite. Sometimes we recite the page we're not very familiar with. There's so many the things to consider when we judge, when you score your point. There is a melody, your confidence, your makharij, your sifat. I mean, so many things. It's not just I have a beautiful tune and I can recite well. No. So what I would advise all of you, those who still to recite, inshallah, first you choose the verse of the Quran that you are most confident. You know very well, okay? Even if somebody tie up my hands or cover up my eyes, I can still recite. That much confidence you have. And then you got to make sure there is no lahne jali. Lahne jali means you straight away been taken out, you can say, because I'm telling you from my experience from this competition, okay, that eventually it's going to be a very fierce competition. There are some reciter who would come, you really sort of sweat to score them, who should go through. I mean, this much tough it gets through. So to be on that stage, you make sure there is no lahna jali. Lahna jali means the major mistake. Now it's not the time to explain what constitutes the major mistakes. But in general, if you ask your teacher or whoever is teaching you, so make sure you don't have any lahna jali. Lahna khafi, sometimes the minor mistakes sometimes let you favor, but eventually you got to read this problem as well. Okay. So first advice, you select the verse that you know very well. Second, it has to be a meaningful start. Okay. So sometimes, for instance, we in the experience, not this year, the last we had, أولئك الذين لعنتهم, like this. You know, there's a curse on them. So he was like shocked. Why? If somebody starts says, أولئك الذين لعنة الله عليهم, you go shocked. Who are this? It's not nice place to start off. Okay. Likewise, you don't stop anywhere that this meaning of the ayah isn't completed. For instance, you don't say فَوَيْلٌ لِلْمُصَلِّينَ and stop there. This is not the nice place to stop, because this ayah is closely attached to the following verses. Okay, who are this? الَّذِينَ. So this you got to be careful, because you know your time. So it's not the random pick up and you recite. Remember, you already passed through sort of the preliminary battleground. So you are all winner in that stage. Okay, so we all treat you as winner. Now you know your time, 2 minutes. So you should be prepared beforehand. I'm going to recite these 5 lines, or these 10 lines, or this Suratul Duha, or Suratul Layl, or whatever surah you choose, or even if the further, bigger surah from Suratul A'raf or any other surah. The verse, it has a meaningful start and meaningful end. And it has to be it has to be in the time limit in 2 minutes. Sometimes we see you go over the time, and obviously the presenter has to stop you. And that after the time, whatever you recite beautifully won't count as in your the score sheet, anything like at any point. Rather, I would say it's sometimes you could mark down, because you don't have the time estimation. So make sure of that. The second, probably third or fourth time, I keep changing seconds, third or fourth, we listen loads of reciters. Sometimes we might say, okay, this ayah is very nicely, very soothing with Sheikh Mishari al-Rashid al-Fasi. This one will probably Sheikh Al-Azmi, or this one probably Sheikh Al-Husari, okay? So it's going to fit my recitation as well, my tone as well. No, you need to choose the right one. That Sheikh's recitation I can easily copy or I can imitate. I don't actually in favor of copying any particular Sheikh. My point is follow how the Sheikh was recite, because every one of us, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave this unique quality of our own style. So if I have to listen to your imitation of Sheikh Mushari, why don't I listen to Sheikh Mushari straight away? So this is what my point. I always in favor of listen to number of reciters, but try just copy their style, not their tuning, not their the voice, because you have your unique style. So you can be one like Sheikh Mushari, you can be like Sheikh Abdul Samad, Sheikh Abdul Basit Abdul Samad, like this. Okay. Another thing is when you recite, okay, we don't actually mark down in that stage. If you look at and read, if you look at the Quran and read, but it's always give you sort of extra confidence when you read from your memory. Okay, so make sure you try to read from your memory. If it is like Juz Amma, doesn't matter. Competition doesn't mean that I have to read from the middle of the Quran or beginning of the Quran. So bigger surah give the extra sort of expression that okay, I know a lot. This is not like this. What's going to happen eventually? Probably the third or fourth round or second or third round, you will be allocated from 3 parts of the Quran. So you have to really prepare yourself anyway. So in that, I would say the elimination round is your choice. Okay, so it's nothing wrong even if you read from Juz Amma any surah, because these are the Juz we from the childhood read and listen a lot. So these are surahs are familiar to us. And sometimes we hear the same surah being recited. Today, if you're honestly speaking, if I have to, I feel like the surah selected for today is Surah Al-Mulk. If you want to take part in competition, you have to Surah Mulk. It could be coincident, obviously, because you don't know somebody from Birmingham recited Surah Al-Mulk and somebody from Southern Surah Al-Mulk. No way they know each other. So is it coincident? What does it say? That say the known surahs, the famous surahs, tend to be picked up by most. So in that case, you be a bit tactical, okay? Not maybe Surah Al-Mulk, go to Surah Al-Muzammil, because this is not that up, it's further down, Surah Al-Muzammil, or further down like Surah Al-Infitar, this sort of surahs, okay? These are the few points. Do we have still time to listen or carry on? I've just about scoring, should we say listen 1 or 2 and then we
let's as you said, Sheikh, let's go to one of our reciters,
inshallah. Then we come back, inshallah.
Jazakallah khair. I think we have Rabiul Islam, who is 13 years old and he's from London. Rabiul Islam, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you?
Assalam.
MashaAllah. Which surah will you be reciting for us?
I'm going to recite a few ayahs from Surah Al-Baqarah.
MashaAllah. Recite when you're ready.
Okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم واتبعوا ما تتلو الشياطين على ملك سليمان وما كفر سليمان ولكن الشياطين كفروا يعلمون الناس السحر وما أنزل على الملكين ببابل هاروت وماروت وما يعلمان من أحد حتى يقولا إنما نحن فتنة فلا تكفر فيتعلمون ما يضرهم ولا ينفعهم ولقد علموا لمن اشتراه ما له في الآخرة من خلاق ولبئس ما شروا به أنفسهم لو كانوا يعلمون صدق الله العظيم.
Jazakallah khair, Rabiul Islam. I'm going to ask Sheikh Abdul Qadir to give us some feedback.
Okay, mashallah, Rabiul, very, very beautiful recitation as always with all of you. Beautiful recitation. Some things you can improve on is you can read a bit more louder, read with a bit more confidence, a bit more louder, a bit more emphasis. And a couple of reoccurring mistakes I noticed is the ha again. For example, it's sihr. So the ha has to be deep You said sihr, so it sounded a bit light. Again, nahnu, the ha, nahnu is again the ha that has to be coming from the deep recess of the throat. It sounded like nahnu. So yeah, so inshallah, keep reciting how you are. You only recited for about a minute or so, so you have to make sure, as our Sheikh just mentioned a moment ago, be aware of the time. You all know that you have 2 minutes of time. So before you come onto the show, you want to keep reciting and know how much you're going to recite and how much you will be able to cover in 2 minutes. Okay, so you only read half the time, so technically, you would only get half the marks, right? Makes sense. So be aware of this for the future, inshallah. But apart from that, mashallah, beautiful recitation. But as I said, a lot more louder, a lot more clearer. And all of the deep letters, make sure you say them deep. You've got the huruf halqi, which is the hamza, ha, ain, ghain. They all come from the throat. Make sure you say all of these correctly, because if you don't, they start sounding quite similar to each other, and that causes problems. That constitutes lahna jali as well, which changes the word, and that is haram in Islam to do. So be very, very aware of that. Be very, very careful of that. But apart from that, alhamdulillah, onwards and upwards, inshallah.
Jazakallah khair, Shaykh. I don't know what happened to my throat there. As soon as you mentioned halq, I think my throat just went. That we have been addressing our young reciters so far, but I think one of the points that I just wanted to pick up on that Sheikh Abdul Qadir mentioned was practicing and making sure you get the timing right. And for the guardians and parents who are watching at home, I think one of the things that you should do to help our young reciters prepare is actually time them. It's 2 minutes of recitation, and I think you should, whether it's yourself or the family, sit in front of the child, get them to recite. Check on your time on a stopwatch, on your mobile phone, on your watch, and listen to them reciting for 2 minutes, and get them to do that few times so they pick up the confidence. The other thing that I wanted to mention, and this is probably that when it comes to the qira'ah, obviously the recitation of Imam Hafs from Imam Asim is very popular around the world, and we've been listening to almost everyone recite from Hafs. If you are somebody, and it's much more popular in North Africa, if you know how to recite from Warsh, if you are learning Warsh, maybe that will give you an edge in the competition. I just want to pose that same question to our judges. What would you think if someone was doing Warsh or Khalaf from Hamza?
Alhamdulillah, very important. And we had the recite in the past, did recite in different riwayah. But one thing is, this is, I think, unfair on saying they will get some extra sort of edge in terms of scoring, because we don't have any rules on the place. If you read in Hafs, you get the Laysa, but if you know more score, if you read in Qalun for North Africa, in Libya, they read Qalun as well. So main thing is, but it would give some different flavor, to be honest. When somebody recites, okay, we say, أَرَأَيْتَ الَّذِي يُكَذِّبُ بِالدِّينِ. I say, wow, this is a different flavor. But it's a competition. So I can't favor you because you've recited different riwayah. Okay, I'll still score based on this requirement. Do you do the taqleel correctly? Do you do the zawatul ya when it comes like that? How do you recite this? How do you do the, if you do the mad badal, if it is tawassut, is it tawassut through? Another thing is which turuq you recite. If it's tariq azraq or tariq ashbahani, that's another thing. Or likewise, if you recite in Ibn Amir. Okay, so if you recite from Hisham, then which way, okay, why, how did you stop there? We check this. So it's not that I recited, I gave some blank check. You will be marked according to that riwayah. Alhamdulillah, generally the judges as well, we have this so expertise in Ashara Qira, inshallah. So it's not that you just blank and then fly away. That's not the case. But in general, as the Sheikh Abdur mentioned, generally we used to listen in Hafs. But if you are somebody who has the background, sometimes the people has the first qira'ah is different, as you said. First qira'ah in North Africa, especially Morocco or Algeria, or they usually in Warsh. It's some part, not whole of it, but it's some part. Or on the other hand, Libya, they do the qalun. So if you first recite, by all means you can recite. It's no problem. But in terms of the scoring, like you not get extra mark for this, and you not get an underscore for this. It's all based on your that expertise in your recitation. You will be judged, inshallah. Just add to this Sheikh, I just remember one thing when I find when the reciters recited, mashallah, one thing is very important, they're all confident.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. And you rightly mentioned the parents' support. Okay, sometimes the children don't know how this, the ayah, I mean, for instance, today somebody started from Surah An-Nisa, and then this is the, you don't actually, this surah, this ayah, not really very comfortable, but mashallah, the contestant, I'm not going to say the name, recited very well. But this is not always the case. Somebody recited from Ahzab, and you can see there are some major mistakes. Okay, وَالصَّادِقُ وَالصَّدِّقَ, he said, he kept two shadda. وَمَا كَانَ لِمُؤْمِنٍ وَلَا مُؤْمِنٍ وَلَا مُؤْمِنَةٍ مُؤْمِنَاتٍ. Okay, there are few. So you see, this is the thing, because obviously that child took part in the competition with the parents' consent, and I believe the parents support them as well. So what we could do, maybe if you are not very sort of well versed in the Quran, go to the masjid imam or any teacher. My child want to recite from that place or from this part to this part. Is it okay? And if the sheikh could hear, and that's fine. This is what happens. We have number of contestants like this. They go and they prepare like this. I mean, you can say they get the help from outsiders. If you have somebody, sometimes we have the parents at home, those who are a sheikh, or they might be very good in recitation. That's fine, you're lucky. But if you don't have, always there's a hands, your help in your reach. So go out them and then ask. Another thing is very important, that if you have any teacher like this, as Sheikh Abdur mentioned, I don't know what they noticed in the middle, that you get the help from internet, like the sheikh. Alhamdulillah, there are hundreds of sheikh. Okay, you start and recite after that. We had the one reciter in the middle. Generally was good recitation, but because of the way he recited, I mean, suddenly got fast and then slow down. And the fastest Abdul Hakim mentioned, he pointed out this thing, that you see there in terms of the pace, you can read in tartil, you can read tadweed, you can read in hadr. The hadr is generally fast, what we see in sometimes in tarawih. So if you started with the tartil, okay, Ya أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام. How does it sound? I mean, you say, what is that? I mean, it would really it was really break your tempo, your flow in your recitation. So flow in your recitation is very important. Okay, if you want to start from the beginning, I want to recite in hadr, that's fine, go well. But the thing is, it's not very easy when you're in hadr and you fulfill all the rules of the tajweed. So this was the safer is to read in tartil. Tartil you mean by mujawwad, that's fine. It is another level. We don't get very mujawwad reciter nowadays. But I don't know if you remember, when we were a child, it's our passion. We used to recite like out loud, shouting, all Sheikh Abdul Basit Abdul Samad, or like Sheikh Minshawi.
Yeah.
But for some reason, this generation, Sheikh, you agree with me, because we miss out this bit. We like most of them, probably Sheikh, you can say, Sheikh Zuhani, Sheikh Al-Zuhani, or current reciters, Sheikh Mishari Rasid, or these sort of reciters. But we need some.
I think that's a good point. I mean, in our time, if you asked me, who can we mention? I think the only person that comes to my mind is Hajjaj Al-Hindawi. And besides him, right, I don't know. If you said to me from before, Sheikh Rifat, Yusuf Bahtimi, there is all the Minshawis, there's three of them, right? I know they're still alive now. Sheikh Al-Husari, Sheikh Abdul Basit, the king of the Qurra, Mustafa Ismail, another king. Yeah, I mean, and then we're speaking, there is the Qira'ah, there's the Makhraj, there's Tajweed, and then the Maqamat. Is it Hijaz? Is it Nahawan? Is it Ajam? In terms, because we're just going to finish the show, but I want to ask both of our judges now, in terms of not having a teacher and having someone to listen to, in terms of makhraj, in terms of tajweed, we've mentioned Mishari al-Afasi, we've mentioned Khalil al-Husari, al-Shatri, Ajmi, Sa'ad al-Ghamidi. Who would you recommend for our young people to listen to?
Even all things, to be honest, I always, not just young, even when the mature brothers, they ask me, first I advise the reciter name, I probably say, oh, I feel like I go to sleep. It's not very tuning, but for tajweed, he is the king in recent time. In our he's Sheikh Ayman al-Suwaid. Sheikh Ayman al-Suwaid, he is like, you can say, undeclared king in Tajweed. I mean, he has so many books he authored. Some of the books I have, subhanAllah, it's a massive book. And somebody can copy his recitation from the beginner to the advanced. In terms of Tajweed, again, I repeat this, because there are some, when you talk about the maqamat or melody or voice, that's different. That's another chapter. We have all the loads of reciters, but I'm not working on this. Why I'm stressing Tajweed the foremost? It's because, for instance, you think of a train. You have a nice voice, one compartment. You have a good what's called qira'ah, this another compartment. You have long breath, another compartment. So every quality of the qira'ah you have compartment, but engine has to be Tajweed. Now, if your engine is the right on the back, and you have all this quality, the train will it go anywhere? No, they will stand still. So to take all these things valued, you have to put your engine in forefront. Then you add every of the component of the recitation. You see, you will be the king of reciters.
MashaAllah. Shaykh Abdul Qadir, who would you recommend?
I'm going to go back to the classic, obviously king of all Qurra. His recitation, mashallah, when he reads in tartil, and it's very, very slow. Myself as well, talking about myself, when we were students, we used to listen to him exclusively because he reads the slowest, and it's very easy to catch all of the tajweed rulings without any difficulty. It's always so nice, so slow, so clear. With him, if you follow him just for the tajweed rulings, for that alone, and then you can switch to any of the other Qurra that you wish later on and switch, melodies and etc. But for, just to get the fundamentals perfect, he's the go-to.
And you
guy.
never mentioned the name, Sheikh. Qari Abdul Basit, Abdul Samad, mashallah, the king of Qurra. Okay, I would say after Mustafa Ismail.
Yes.
But Jazakallah khair to our judges today, and Jazakallah to all those who have participated. We will be continuing with the show tomorrow and the rest of this week. So do join us, inshallah. Until then, from all of us in the studio, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
قرآني في قلبي دوما يغمرني من فيض ضياء آيات المولى تدفعني نحو العليا.